not talking wood. Bring it back to a talking wood. Not your lot, just listen and love. Vision truth below as a bird. Blackbird, not talking wood. Blackbird, not talking wood.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me for Natural Law Presentation 5, Self-Accountability and Responsibility. As always, I encourage you to visit the website, affirmlifedaily.com. There's tons of resources on there. There's affirmations, there's videos, there's lists of books and documentaries that are great to watch. So I definitely want you to check it out if you have a chance. The questions we will be dealing with today is what is self-accountability and responsibility? Oh, and also on the website are the previous presentations. If you want to view them, you can view them on the website, on Rumble, and on YouTube as well. Because the information does kind of build on each other. So it's good to watch from the beginning. So you have a full understanding of kind of everything that I'm talking about. But the questions we'll answer today is what is self-accountability and responsibility? What is required to be truly responsible for self? What is the result of relinquishing responsibility of self to someone else, government, or another entity? And how do we take control and responsibility of our own lives? So this is just a list of the key aspects of natural law that I will be covering. There's 15 different aspects. We're on number 5, which is each adult is responsible and accountable for self. I won't go through this entire list. This list is on the website, so you can view it there if you'd like to see the list in its entirety. So what is self-accountability and responsibility? So we'll just start off with some general definitions so that we're on the same page. Self-responsibility is the opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. It is the act of taking control of self. And I highlighted opportunity because I thought it was very important to phrase it that way, as an opportunity, because a lot of times when people think of responsibility, they think of it in a negative way, like, oh, that's more that I have to do, or more that I have to handle, or it's more work, or it's just a lot. But it's also an opportunity responsibility. It's an opportunity to grow, to evolve, to take ownership of your life. So it's a great opportunity having self-responsibility and really owning your life and owning your choices. So you can look at it as a negative, or you can look at it as a positive and as an opportunity for growth and healing. Self-accountability is taking responsibility for your actions and behaviors without blaming others. It means you're fulfilling your obligations, tasks, and goals without making any excuses. So this quote by Shelby Martin really sums up personal accountability really well. Personal accountability requires mindfulness, acceptance, honesty, and courage. It is these very requirements that deter most people from even wanting to take accountability for their decisions in their lives. Because like I said, a lot of people look at responsibility as strictly a burden, accountability as a burden. So when they have to be mindful, when they have to be accepting, when they have to be honest, and especially when they have to be courageous, they don't want any part of it. So we're going to look at each of those 4 things in greater detail. What is required to be truly responsible for self? So again, we're going to look at those 4 things we talked about. Mindfulness. That is the mental state of focusing your awareness on the present moment while acknowledging your present physical state, feelings, and thoughts. So being just in the moment and not, just acknowledging everything, whether it feels good or not, just acknowledging what is going on with you in any given moment. Acceptance, the act of receiving what is offered or present from a heart-centered place. And we'll talk more about heart intelligence and being heart-centered later in the presentation, because it is something that's really important, spiritually, and during, just becoming a more conscious and a more awakened person. Being heart-centered and heart intelligence is really very important. It's an important part of that. Honesty. This is the act of simply acknowledging or stating reality, accepting what is, whether or not it causes discomfort to self or conflict with others. Courage. Like I said, this is a huge one, and one that's, a struggle for a lot of people. The ability and strength to do something in the face of fear and or opposition. Courage is very, and I should add like 5 more varies, very, 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 very rare in today's society. Like I said, that's probably the biggest reason why there's so few people that even if they know what's going on, they see what's going on, they don't say anything. They don't do anything. A lot of that has to do with just not having the courage to do so. So I really thought this was a very powerful quote by Maya Angelou. Courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. So whenever you meet opposition, whenever it becomes too challenging, whenever you feel slightly threatened, you're just going to back off. If you have the choice between doing the right thing, being virtuous, staying true to your morals, or going along with the crowd, if you don't have the courage to stand maybe all alone in your virtue, in your morals, in your integrity, you're just going to cave. So to be consistently virtuous, you have to have courage. True freedom requires real courage. It absolutely does. Other important requirements for self-accountability and responsibility, we'll go over those. The collective will reflect the individuals within it. We all need to engage in the following. Self-control. So you can delay or deny self-gratification when necessary. Shadow work. So you can recognize your triggers and emotional wounds. And yes, shadow work is painful. It hurts. It can, be a lot to go through, but it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, if you don't understand the dark parts of you and the parts that need healing, how can you heal them? How can you deal with them? How can you navigate in relationships well if you don't know your own emotional wounds and the things that trigger you and the things that you need to work on? Acquisition of knowledge. So you can decipher fact from fiction, which is huge because we are bombarded with fiction constantly through mainstream media and a lot of other sources too, but especially mainstream media. We're bombarded with constant fiction. So you have to acquire real knowledge, which takes a lot of effort, but it allows you to be able to decipher fact from fiction. Fortitude. So you don't give up when things become challenging. And that's related directly again to courage. Living heart-centered lives based in true care. We talked about true care a lot in previous presentations, so I'm not going to go into that again. If you haven't seen the previous presentations, I definitely recommend that you check those out because, like I said, a lot of this information does build on each other, each presentation. And so you want to be heart-centered so that you stay spiritually connected to the collective and the one consciousness. And one consciousness you can also think of as God, or just the whole of everything, just the whole of the universe. What is the result of relinquishing responsibility of self to someone else, to government, or to another entity? Relinquishing personal responsibility leads to slavery every single time. There is no way around that. Once you say, I don't want to be responsible for myself, then you are saying you want someone else to be, which is going to automatically lead to a state of slavery. Humanity's current condition on this planet is a direct result of allowing other people or entities to have control over you. That is literally the definition of slavery, someone controlling you or someone controlling another person. That is the definition of slavery. Our misguided, false belief in authority has led us down a path where our God-given freedoms have been all but removed. And you can see that all around you. You step out of line a little bit and watch what happens. You're either going to be confined to a cell. You're going to be physically harmed, maybe even killed. If that's not slavery, I don't know what is. If you're not willing to be bullied, extorted, exploited by the powers that be, you're going to be handled. That is absolutely a state of slavery. And your freedoms, which are not given by them, they are given by God, are being taken from us. This is a post that I took off of Instagram from Alex Zek. I highly recommend you follow him because he puts up some really great information. He's a very strong voice in the truth and freedom, like real truth and freedom movement, that understands the role that government and authority plays in human slavery. But I'm just going to read this. The primary justification for government is essentially this, okay? Human beings are prone to behaving immorally and prone to, unjustifiably initiating aggression. So we need government. And what is government? Government is granting a small group of those same human beings who are also prone to behaving immorally and prone to unjustifiably initiating aggression the exclusive right to issue commands, make laws, take your money, and initiate aggression against those who don't comply. So you see how it's fundamentally illogical at its very core, because what you're saying you're afraid of is aggression and things happening to you that are not justified, but you're granting full power to a small group of people that do that all the time to you. So that's the fundamental problem with government, our belief in government and our belief in authority. Most people want government because they fear responsibility. They fear the responsibility that comes along with governing self and being accountable for self. People want someone to blame when something goes wrong, and they want someone to protect them when there's some type of threat. They don't want to take on the ownership of that for their own lives, but that is crucial that you do that for real freedom. Government is utilized in a parental role. Essentially, we are adults living as children. We have given up our freedom to corrupt individuals so that we can have the false feeling of safety, stability, and security that a parent provides a child. Because you see every day, there is not this, you can't get blanket safety. Life does not work like that. There's always going to be things that come up that you are going to have to deal with, things that may be threatening, things that may be unsafe. And that still happens, even though we have this enormous government that spends these enormous amount of our tax dollars. We still have instability. We have, we're often unsafe. There's tons of crime, and most people don't feel secure. Just go on any social media platform right now and see how secure the average person feels. Not very secure at all. Actors, puppets, manipulators, and frontmen constitute the vast majority of our religious leaders, media personalities, politicians, corporate higher-ups, and pop culture icons. Even those who recognize this often still crave this perceived safety net that these people and entities supposedly are providing them. So this is a huge problem, us looking as adults to still have these parental figures and roles controlling our lives and quote unquote protecting us. This is another post that he put up recently. His posts were just kind of really recently have just really been lining up with this presentation. So I was saving them when I would see the ones that really worked well with this presentation, because voting is something that I personally get a lot of flack about because people don't understand. Well, they can't seem to grasp the concept of someone not wanting to say, well, I'm not going to vote between two horrible choices, two evil, monstrous people. Oh, just vote for the lesser of those two. Just vote for the lesser evil. That shouldn't even sound logical to a rational mind. I'm going to vote for the less evil person to rule over me. How about none of them rule over me? It sounds like a much better choice to me. But I'm going to read this post. Don't vote, so give up. Are we really suffering from state-induced Stockholm syndrome so much that we equate not voting with completely giving up? I can think of hundreds, maybe thousands of things you can do right now that are far, far more important to ensuring a life of freedom than voting for another guy in a suit, offering lip service while playing on your emotions and conditioning you to outsource your power. Not voting is but a sliver of stepping into a life of taking full ownership of your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions, and truly governing yourself. It is wiping the fog away to see the true source of freedom. Only through taking responsibility for ourselves can we be free. There's no way around that. People keep trying to find a way around that and still wanting real freedom. You can't. You have to take responsibility for yourself if you want to be free. You cannot vote yourself to freedom. It will never work. It will fail every time, and you'll end up back in a state of slavery. We must become sovereign. Let's look at the etymology of this word. The word sovereign is derived from the Latin verb super, which means above, and the Latin noun regnum, which means rulership or control. Thus, sovereign means one who is above the rulership or control of another. Sovereign means not a subject or a slave. So how do we get to this place of true sovereignty, of true freedom? So the question is, again, how do we take control and responsibility of our own lives? It starts with acknowledging where we are currently, which is slavery, which we've talked about at length now. We are currently definitely in a state of slavery, and where we want to be, which is free, truly free. How do we get there? We must change our mindset. Mindset is crucial. Everything starts with your mindset, how you perceive the world around you and how you most importantly perceive yourself. We must live in truth. We must move beyond the ego and the physical. We must be willing and ready to change. We must embrace heart-based intelligence. And we'll talk at length about that because it's really important, heart-based intelligence. And a lot of people aren't that familiar with that term. So let's start with the first one. We must change our mindset. Everything starts in the mind. Mark Passio, who I've mentioned in pretty much every presentation, I definitely advise you to check out whatonearthishappening.com, his website. It is amazing, the wealth of information this man has amassed in his mind. And he has a lot of, you can even buy a lot of he has something called the ARC drives where you can buy the whole culmination of all the research and everything he's put together over the years. But I definitely recommend him. If you watch his podcast, you absolutely have to start at number 1 and go in order. There's a couple hundred of them of episodes at this point. He's been doing this for a long time, but it's well worth it. It's absolutely well worth it. Once you start getting in, you'll want to keep going. But anyway, Mark Passio explains how authority is an illusion of a diseased psyche, based entirely in violence and built upon the erroneous and dogmatic belief that some people are masters who have the moral right to issue commands and others are slaves who have a moral obligation to obey the masters. This mindset, this sick mindset and belief system must be completely abandoned if we ever want to be free. This belief in authority, it has to go, because that's when you give up your freedom willingly to people that have no right to put you in a state of slavery. And when the collective agrees to this, those of us like me who want to be free are kind of stuck with you because we're bound together. We're tied together. That's why I do this, because we have to start speaking out and start educating each other so that we can change the collective mindset. You have to start first with yours and then start working on the collective. What is the Hermetic principle of mentalism? I did mention in previous presentations about the 7 Hermetic principles. I absolutely recommend that you study them. It will teach you so much about how the universe operates in the laws that are set in the universe. The law of mentalism is the one that applies to this particular presentation. The law of mentalism is one of the 7 Hermetic principles outlined in the Teachings of Hermes. It states that all is mind, the universe is mental. In essence, this law asserts that everything in the universe, from the tangible to the intangible, is a product of the mind. So everything starts with the mind. Because everything has to be perceived through the mind. The principle of mentalism implies that the universe is mental and everything that happens has a mental component. Understanding this principle means realizing the power of perception and mindset. That's why I put this in here, because understanding that power of your mindset is crucial to even start the process of awakening. If you are in the improper mindset, you will not awaken. You may think you are, but you actually won't, because you're not in the proper mindset. We must live in truth. Truth is simply reality. And we've talked about this a lot in previous presentations, because truth is simply what is. This sounds easy to understand, but the concept of truth has been distorted and literally obliterated by modern society. People regularly deny the truth even when it's directly in front of their eyes. They're looking at something. They're looking at something red. They got 5 people on each side of them that's saying it's blue. Oh yeah, you know what? That is blue. This is what the truth has become now. So it just because the truth may seem harsh, hurt your feelings, or challenges your belief system does not make it become untrue. It just means you are too weak to accept the truth. The truth is still the truth, even if no one believes it. A lie is still a lie, even if everyone believes it. The truth never changes. It absolutely stays consistent. Whether you accept it or not is up to you. It remains whether you accept it or not. Just because the majority believes a lie does not make that lie become the truth. And this, you think, is so obvious that you wouldn't have to talk about something like this, but you do. Because like I said, even when things are directly in front of people's faces, a lot of times they will deny the truth. And that's a big problem because you can't get anywhere if you're not willing to, at minimum, accept the truth. We must move beyond the ego and the physical. And this is not talking about, getting rid of the physical or that the physical is bad or that your ego is bad. All these things have their place and serve their purpose. We're talking about balance. We must balance the spiritual and physical. The societal focus on the ego, physical, and material while ignoring the spiritual and unseen will lead to dysfunction and destruction without fail. Absolutely. Every time. Without that balance, it's going to lead you always in a negative direction. Balance is essential to mental, spiritual, and physical health. Being in a healthy, balanced state is the foundation of self-responsibility and accountability. You will not even be able to truly understand the concept of freedom in an unhealthy state because you will not be able to think clearly. You will not be able to function clearly. Your health will be bad. Your physical health, your mental health will be bad, and you will be spiritually disconnected. You cannot awaken, you cannot become conscious, and you cannot embrace growth and healing if you are in a completely imbalanced state like that. So it's very important to find that balance between the spiritual and the physical and not get so caught up, because that is what's pushed in mainstream society so much, is just the physical, the material, the consumerism, the ego, all this ego-driven behavior. So finding that balance is essential. The next thing we need to do is we must embrace heart-based intelligence. Heart-based intelligence is the essence of true care. We must embrace real consciousness based in morality. It is critical that we understand right from wrong and live by that moral guide on a day-to-day basis. And no, I'm not crazy and I'm not perfect. Believe me, far from it. And no one is. But that doesn't mean you don't try to do that on a day-to-day basis, and that you don't try to become a better, stronger, more moral person day by day. Many people think of their brain as a center of intelligence, but it is actually your heart. Your heart has its own intelligence. Its neurological system and electromagnetic field are actually much larger and much more powerful than the brain's. Here's 8 fascinating facts on the heart's intelligence. And these I got from Costa Rican herbalist Adriana Ayales. Number 1, the heart contains its own independent nervous system comprised of more than 40,000 neurons. The heart's electromagnetic field is the most powerful field generated by your body. It is projected throughout the body and radiates several feet outside of you. Your heartbeat, rather than being a simple dump, 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 is a tightly compressed information stream broadcasting its message to every cell of your entire body. The heart provides you with emotional and intuitive guidance to help you direct your life. Core heart feelings like love, appreciation, compassion downregulate the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight system, and increases the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. Your heart rhythms are mirrored in your emotional states. Negative emotions such as fear, anger, hostility create disorder and irregular heart rate. Positive emotions create improved order in the heart's rhythms. The heart is the body's master oscillator. Its rhythm pulls all the body's systems into a state of synchronization. So it's really important to That's why I'm saying heart intelligence and being heart-centered is so crucial. Positive emotional states have a balancing effect on the nervous system by strengthening immunity, enhancing hormonal function, and improving brain function. The heart's electromagnetic field is literally your superpower. It absolutely is. The magnetic field produced by the human heart is more than 100 times greater in strength than the field generated by the brain and can be detected in all directions, 360 around you, up to 3 feet away from the body, using superconducting quantum interface squid-based magnetometers. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So literally, when you are near someone and you say, oh, I feel a certain energy, or I'm getting a certain type of vibe, whether it's good or bad, or you can sense if someone's sad, or sense, you just kind of can sense it's real. It's not in your imagination, or it's not, something that's supernatural, or you have to be a special, intuitive person. If you are in touch with yourself, you will easily pick up on people's energy because it's literally a field around them. The heart's magnetic field, which is the strongest rhythmic field produced by the human body, not only envelops every cell of the body, but also extends out in all directions into the space around us. The heart's magnetic field can be measured several feet away from the body by sensitive magnetometers. Research conducted at the HMI, which is a Heart Math Institute, suggests that the heart's field is an important carrier of information. So here's more from the Heart Math Institute. According to research director Dr. Roland McCready, coherence is a state when the heart, mind, and emotions are in energetic alignment and cooperation. It is a state that builds resilience. When the parasympathetic and sympathetic system are out of sync from emotions such as anger, anxiety, or frustration, this produces an erratic rhythm or incoherent state. The brain receives this input, which affects whether higher cognitive functions can be accessed to self-regulate. When harmonious interactions exist among the body systems, this is referred to as physiological coherence. And this increases, so does the brain's alpha activity, which supports stress relief and creativity. This calmer yet focused state improves learning, making better choices, an expanded view of options. So you can kind of see, based on this research, why the controllers always focus on keeping us in states of anger, frustration, anxiety. It serves them so well because now you can't learn, you can't make great choices. You start to narrow your focus on your options. So it definitely helps them with their agenda, and it absolutely hurts our agenda, which is to become free and to evolve and to grow. So it's very important to understand the importance of the having coherence and having harmony within your body, especially brain-heart balance. How do we find this heart-centered balance? We can start by changing some of our habits and routines, integrating spiritual practices into our lives like yoga, meditation, affirmations, contemplation, even just silence, things like that. Read and acquire essential knowledge about real human history, not what you learned in school, because that absolutely is not real human history. Your body, and acquire knowledge about your spiritual essence and energy. Get in touch with nature, walk outside, garden. I love gardening. You feel like a different person when you engage in activities like this consistently. Hike, ground. If you're not familiar with grounding, it's basically just coming into contact with the earth directly. So, I'll go outside and I'll take off my shoes and I'll just walk in the grass. Sometimes I'll lay in the grass, but you want that skin contact with the actual earth. It is healing in so many ways. I don't know if there's a really good documentary about grounding. I can't think of the exact name of it. I think it's listed on my website. I'll check. If it's not, I will add it in the movie and documentary section, but it is amazing. Sunbathing and sun gazing, also amazing. Getting that energy and healing energy from the sun. It helps so much. Self-exploration and shadow work. Deal with the emotional wounds. Deal with the past traumas and acknowledge the dark parts of self. Everybody has dark parts to themselves because polarity is one of the Hermetic principles. There is an opposite to everything. We must be willing and ready to change. Only you can change your life. You must be in a place mentally and emotionally to embrace real, tangible change for yourself. Of course, you will not become a different person overnight, and nor should you. Change takes time. It takes a lot of effort, and it just takes that, but it takes consistent effort. So each and every day we have to work on this. So be open to growth and healing every day of your life, even when it's painful, even when it's lonely, even when it's challenging or overwhelming. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Stay focused on where you want to go, on the new life you want to create for yourself. Your willingness to stay the course will determine if you actually change or you just continually say that you have. Growth will never come without change. Freedom starts with you and me. We cannot change our societal problems unless we actually own them. The change we seek begins and ends with us. It is time that humanity takes responsibility for our current condition. Real freedom does actually await us. This is a really powerful quote by Mandy Hale. Change is painful, but nothing is as painful as staying stuck somewhere you don't belong. And I can tell you, from the deepest depths of my soul, of my spirit, we, humanity, we do not belong in a state of slavery. That should not be the human condition. That is not where we belong. There is nothing more painful than that. So it is up to us to change that. A free society that has not done the work to become wise, moral, and accountable will soon again become slaves. We must take responsibility for self if we really want to be free. Freedom is ours if we choose it. So I thank you so much for joining me for the presentation, number 5 on accountability and responsibility of self. I, again, encourage you to visit affirmlifedaily.com. Like I said, there's tons of resources there. There's daily affirmations that are great. Products will be coming soon as well. So take advantage of it. There's lots of videos on there that are helpful. Follow on social media at Affirm Life Daily on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook. But I appreciate your time. This is important. This is so important. This work that I'm doing is so important. And we need everyone doing this type of work. We really do. It's going to take all of us to change the current state we're in. And but have a blessed night, and thank you so much for your time.
Have a good night, Cynthia. I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you have any questions or anything for me?
No, I do just want to say that I know this is only my first and last, I guess, meeting, but I just want to say you seem like an awesome person. I've been into a bunch of this stuff the past few years, and it's good to see, wherever you go, the truth, like you say, is still the truth, and it never changes. So
absolutely. And I'll still be doing these podcasts. I'm just not going to keep the meetup group anymore because I have to pay to keep that, and it's just not enough participation to keep it. But definitely just if you sign up for the Telegram group, and you can go on the website and just sign up for the newsletter, so you'll always get a notification of, when they're scheduled. But yeah, absolutely. I would love for you to join the next one once it's scheduled, and, just help me spread the word, brother, please.
Oh yeah, I already have the website favorited, so I'll definitely be spreading the word. It's good to have some like a resource book like that. There's nothing like that, at least that I have found so far. So thank you so much for your work and what you're doing for the collective.
I appreciate it. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. You all have a blessed night, and I will see y'all soon.
Have a good night.
All right. Thank you.